Started off on reel to reel, 2-inch reel to reel, and I recorded at the late Sam Stevens Let's Do This Studios over in the Central District. Sam
Legend.
Stevens is the brother of Ezell Stevens, who owned Ezell's.
Wow.
And so Sam Stevens is the one who brought E40 and the Click to Seattle for the first time, and they recorded a couple albums on In a Major Way in the Hall of Game. Sam Stevens has produced and recorded for a lot of old school Seattle artists. And so what we had to do is we had to go down to like Guitar Center and buy this big 2-inch reel to reel. The thing was like 50 pounds. It was super heavy. And then eventually we switched to ADATs. And then so we had to transfer all the stuff from the reel onto the ADATs. And I still have my original master ADATs at home in my first album that I recorded. It was called Project Nomad. And yeah, it was definitely a process because, you know, today when you record, you could just punch in anywhere. You could just line up a track and just boom, punch in. It wasn't that hard. It was a lot harder back then. You had to know, you had to practice and know your song by heart, because if you messed up, you had to do the whole thing over. Punching in was very, very, very hard to do. Wow. If you ever hear those old records where the swear word was reversed, that's because they cut the record and flipped it. They cut the tape and flipped it over. You know what I'm saying? And
so the word.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy, man.
That's crazy.
It was a tedious task. So what me and Sam would do is I would go into the studio and, you know, I've always made beats. So me and Sam would sit down. I'd bring all the samples in. I just didn't have the equipment, but I said, this is what I want. I want blah, 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 blah. And he'd load it up and sign it up, you know, and if I wanted keys played on a bass line, I'd hum the, you know, what I wanted, and he'd play it. And we'd make it right there on the spot. And I would be writing as he's making the beats. I'd be writing my stuff. And then what he would do is he'd record the instrumental to a tape. I'd go home and I'd practice the song for about 2 weeks. I'd come back in and I'd record it. And, you know, time is money. So you got to get your stuff right. So it was imperative that I knew exactly what I was recording by heart. And if I wanted to do any dubs or backup vocals or anything, I didn't know exactly where they were coming in, because you just can't make those kind of errors. So now I got all my ADATs downloaded to digital. So now I can go in there and I can, you know, manipulate things and, you know, stuff like that easy.